What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to week 13 of the 2023 season. We are in maximum chaos mode right now. Only one, as far as we've been able to tell, playoff spot is clinched. No playoff first round buys are clinched, no conference titles. And it's just so competitive. It's so competitive right now. And then we had a really crazy Thursday game, too, to just add on to everything. Um, Add into all this that we had the trade deadline this week and nothing really happened. This is because Grant threw a nuclear bomb in a few weeks ago and just threw the entire market off. So I think Grant now, who is not in first place in his conference after making those giant moves and losing, was it 4 of the last 5 games or 3 of the last 4? Um, Everything's wild. And it stinks that I'm not in it, but I'm happy to be here with you and cover it. Waiver report for week 13. Still very shallow, not a lot out there. Bannis picked up Miles Sanders for $8. One other person bid 5. And the rest of the way here, we have competitors just trying to optimize their lineup. Max spent $6 on the Falcons defense. Stan spent 6 on a kicker for Brandon McManus, trying to do whatever you can at every position to squeak out every point possible. Max also $6 on Juwan Johnson, looking for a tight end plug-in. And then on Thursday, Wes spent $20 on Kyle Pitts, who he's so shiny there whenever he gets dropped, right? He just looks like maybe when he's on my team, it'll finally happen. Predictions last week, I went 3-3 because we did have some surprises. Marty was the team of the week in the shootout with Stan. If you missed it in the Discord, it's the second highest scoring game in CHFFL history. Highest scoring loss. So Stan scored over 180 points and still managed to lose. First time that's ever happened. Parker, beating Grant, takes lead in the Fantasy Heart and Soul Conference for the first round bye. He's sitting at 9-3 right now. Let's see. Before we switch over to our browsers, I see we have one person, no chats to answer to yet. So let's switch over now and start looking at our predictions for this week, because obviously we want to go into pretty good detail. We're going to start out with what should be really the only gimme this week, which Stan playing mini. And Stan, I know he's disappointed about last week. You gotta look at it. I'm gonna bring it up actually here. I don't know if your screen will. Yeah, let's look at team of the week over the last few weeks. I need to add in Marty here and Venmo him. I didn't do that yet, but last few weeks, Marty, Stan, Max, Stan, Marty. Marty and Stan, right now, I think are clearly the two best teams, especially after last week. I know Grant didn't have that as his power rankings, but Stan still has to feel very confident right now in his squad. He got 48.56 on Thursday from Dak and Tony Pollard, as we had a huge shootout between Dallas and Seattle. Projected at 137 points for the week against Minnie, who has picked up quite a few loser of the week awards since that category was introduced. We may want to just start calling it the Minnie of the week. 94 points projected. Huge difference on Fantasy Pros. Stan at an 88, Minnie at a 70. 9.7 from Tyler Lockett on Thursday was just fine, although in a 35-41 game, you would hope for a little more. Obviously, I am taking Stan here. Now let's go over to Marty, who on paper should have had a gimme, but Dallas actually kind of put him into murky territory. Marty and his New Age Outlaws will be playing Bannis, D-Generation, Eckler. -6 from the Dallas defense on Thursday. The rough start. And on the other side, Bandit, 2 weeks now. I know you guys, you're still picking up people on free agency. Obviously, you're not watching the show because you're not getting shamed. Stop starting people in the flex. Multiple times now I've had to call you out. But still, 16.5 from Brandon Cooks is a nice Thursday, and now the projection is only a 10-point difference on ESPN. Marty, though, as I said, one of the two strongest in the league, missing at defense for 1 week shouldn't cause him to fall. Got to give kudos to Banis for going out and aggressively picking up Miles Sanders to plug into the lineup and make this a game. I think it's always a responsibility of teams that are out of it to still try and be competitive. Sanders, though, has clearly ceded the lead back role in Carolina to Chuba Hubbard. Fantasy pros here, Marty at an 89, Banis down at 74. Still like Marty. Just wish for him that it wasn't going to be so close. Looking at his wide receiver position, we've got DJ Moore on bye, Mari Cooper playing, Josh Allen on bye is rough. I let him, when we did the trade, I knew Allen's bye was still coming up, and I didn't take Trevor Lawrence from him in part because the conditional pick was tied to Marty's performance. So obviously I'm rooting for him so I can get his second. Lawrence has been coming on the past couple of weeks, so hopefully he's a good fill-in for Allen, and I like Marty to pick up the win. Now we can put a little more focus on these games coming up, as they should be a little more consequential. Hey, Pa. How are you doing, big guy? You excited here? Excited sitting at 9-3? On top right now. So in points scored, Parker down at, what is that, 7th. Been a wild season, that's for sure. And back to it. Let's talk about Parker. Parker against my Boosts on Paper ballots. I think this is a potential trap game because my team is not too bad. It would be nice if we still had Josh Allen. Wouldn't help this week because he'd be on bye anyway. We have a capped upside, but we still managed to score 120 points last week, getting a total of less than 4 from quarterback and kicker. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We swapped out for Matt Gay here. Chris Godwin, questionable. I know Bill and Grant are saying Godwin's ceiling is so low right now. He's just not cracking 10. What do you do? I'm going to keep Tank Dell. I just got an alert, is healthy, so he and Nico are both staying in there, even against Denver's defense. Maybe we put, probably going to sub Watson in for Godwin. He's been coming on. The Packers offense has been looking better. Ride the hot hand. Let's go make that change on air right now. I'm not signed in. I'll do it afterwards. Still, that's not going to make too much of a difference. Parker and his young royalty obviously favored here. Currently projected at 131. Somehow nobody had any points on the Thursday game here. Nobody had any players, which makes me so sad because last week I had Geno Smith, and now I'm really feeling the pain as predicted of not having the steady starting quarterback every week because Geno gets 3 points for me. I drop him, and then as a blow, I didn't check how many points he had because I didn't want to see it, but I'm sure he had a good game in that shootout, fantasy-wise at least. I feel you guys. I feel you, Bill. I feel you, Stan. Guys who have had inconsistent quarterback play at times. It's tough. Parker, though, coming off a good week against Grant. No holes in the lineup. Cortland Sutton starting is interesting. Cooper Kupp. It's just Parker kind of losing faith. Kupp needs to show him something, I guess, to get back in the starting lineup. Cortland Sutton has had a pretty decent season. What's his, he's position ranked 28. Russ has not been terrible, and he's been the number 1 receiver in Denver. So it's not a bad substitute. It really stinks for Parker that Cooper Kupp not really doing it right now. Shouldn't hold him back too much. My team is at full strength as far as my team goes, but you still look at Hubbard against Pacheco. I mean, Monty can take Bijan. Still would rather have Bijan. Mixon, I'd be a little worried about. With Burrow out, that offense looks so much worse, although the Steelers' defense is good. I worry about Mixon a little bit as somebody who owns him in Dynasty. I think Laporta is a little better than McBride, so this could get interesting for Parker. I don't expect it to. Ordiners at Philadelphia. That's interesting. That would be something I would keep a watch on. If that game becomes a little higher scoring, That's what I think could make this interesting, but I'm going to still take Parker. Fantasy Pros has him at a 90, me at a 77. Nobody's played on Thursday, so that still seems to be a good projection. So we'll go with that. Next, let's look at Bill and Wes. This is looking to be not that close. Parker, I would love to take the season sweep on you, but it's not looking great here. But I'm looking for any moral victories I can at this point because I care about those historical statistics, and my team this year is really dragging me down. Obviously, I'm losing most total regular season wins, but total points scored are going to go down quite a bit as well. If I could keep the matchup score between me and Parker the all-time record in a good spot, that would be nice. Now, Wes against Bill. Wes and his Psy Ducks against Bill and the 4-8 Kim Chiago Bears. What a shell of what they used to be, projected at only 106. Wes got 19 points from Zach Charbonnet. He is come on everything you wanted him to be as a rookie pick early in the season. Didn't come out of the gate, and that happens sometimes with rookies. Happened with Jahmyr Gibbs this year. So the fantasy community has been learning over the past, I'd say, 5 or so years. Rookie running backs, awesome, pick them. But we're also learning a little bit. But you have to give him a few games. And Charb looking like a good keeper for West now. Although he's drafted in the 8th round, I still think 6, based on his recent performance, if he keeps this up, is probably going to be a reasonable keeper for him. Wes has Kyle Pitts in the lineup. Now, did he have an uptick to warrant this? No. So this is just Wes taking a swing for the fence. Musgrave on IR, and Dalton Schultz also hurt. So he's just kind of desperate at the tight end position. But Bill over there, other than Olave, previously I would have said Ramondre Stevenson. But, Ramondre's put it together a good few games here. I guess I haven't really been paying attention to him. Could make it a little interesting here. I still, you're looking at Wes's lineup. AJ Brown, always look for Thursday points, and then the studs. Mahomes over Howell, still like it, even though Mahomes hasn't had as great of a season as you might like. Jets against Atlanta, like that matchup for both defenses. I know Stan or Max, I think, spent to get the Falcons D. Like that to be an ugly offensive game. Yeah, I just don't see Jaden Reed, Tyler Higbee. I don't see them overcoming Wes with Brown, Kamara, Pickens looking like the Steelers' offense is going to get better. He didn't really get a big boost fantasy-wise from that, but I think the potential is there with the Steelers' offense with no Matt Canada for Pickens to start scoring more. I do think I'm wondering where ESPN is getting this projection though, because I don't see this as a 30-point difference looking at these two lineups. I see it more as a 15-point difference. I still like Wes. I just don't see it as that big of a blowout. Wes's lineup, you got a dud at tight end. Pickens and Pitts can't be exciting. They both have potential, but they can't be exciting. I guess you love what Charb put up. Love Kamara Brown as studs, and White has been a PPR monster this season, top 10 back. So all of that said, take Wes. Don't think it's that big of a blowout though. Be interested to see what viewers may think. Wes, though, at 8-4, very happy to be running into Bill, a little bit of a weaker team this week, because Max falling at him from behind. Max, however, is a very difficult matchup. And that's got to be our team. That's got to be our game of the week, though. So we'll come back to it. Let's look at the new Walker order versus Can You Digs It, Sucka. Swan versus Mark. Swan appeared in the Discord recently, so his team must be doing very well, because suddenly his schedule always opens up and he's able to chat and participate. when things are going well. 75 points on Thursday from two receivers, CeeDee Lamb 32, DK Metcalf 42. Is that the end of the discussion here? Mark's team is very strong, but only got 20 from his tight end. Normally, you'd be very excited with that. But so many points on the other side going into today just makes it very tough to claw back. Kyron Williams put up 40 points last week. You can't expect that from him every week, even if he is an RB1. You can't expect 40 points from anybody every week. Jamar Chase, how did he do on a fantasy perspective last week? 12.1 without Burrow, 9.2 in the game Burrow got hurt. So I don't think you can count on Jamar Chase as being a wide receiver 1 right now. He's more a wide receiver 2 without Burrow in that offense. Stroud, tough matchup with Denver, whose defense is actually pretty good. Swan starting both Mostert and Achane. I mean, there's a good chance that one of them is going to have a big game. We know how explosive that offense has been with both of them healthy. Hasn't happened this year too much. But 24 last week from Mostert. Achane only 1.5, but that was his first game back from injury. Expect him to get a little bit more now. Walker out. Obviously didn't get any points from him, which explains Charb getting the complete RB1 looks. Justin Jefferson on a bye last week without him, hopefully. But I don't see how Mark comes back here. As good as his team is, because 150 right now doesn't seem like it's going to do it. Your opponent puts up 75 with 2 players, still has some big names to go. Henry should be able to do okay against Indy. Jordan Love has been a much better starter recently. I mean, look at these. Last time scoring under 10 was week 5. A couple of 20-point games in a row. Jordan Love, everybody, look at these transactions, dropped, added, dropped, $8, $2 waivers, $3 waivers, $40 waivers. And finally, I think he's settling on Swan's team as we've seen him stabilize throughout the season. So, final answer, I take Mark here. I take Swan here. I don't think Mark can make up the difference no matter how good his team is. All right, what do we have left here? Talked about Mini Stan, talked about Marty Banis, hit on Wes Bill and me Pa, so it's time for our game of the week. Oh man, I'm nervous just looking at this. Max, 7-5, the Soul Brothers, projected at only 122 versus Grant, K-Pop Kings, 8-4, projected at a mighty 145. No players have yet hit the field in this one. Fantasy Pros has Grant as the top team, but they've had Grant as the top team probably every week since he made his big trades. And he's only won 1 game and lost 3 over that span. Max, Fantasy Pros rating down at an 84. Went out and got Falcons defense against the Jets. Not going to have Rodgers yet. The Jets are a train wreck. And I'm starting with the defense there because we're looking for Max to squeeze points anywhere he can right now. Herbert plays New England. Don't see any reason that couldn't get him some. I mean, honestly, you look at Grant's lineup and you don't know what's happened recently. You just know the basics of fantasy football, and you've been paying attention generally over the last few years. Hurts, Etienne, Eckler, St. Brown, Kelsey, Moss without Jonathan Taylor. I think that is a stacked lineup. Puka officially on the bench now. Barkley on bye. Puka on the bench. There are a couple. You're looking for where can Max make up some points. Adam Thielen has 1.2 points last week. He, after the incredibly hot start, has been more human, certainly over the last few weeks. So that's an opportunity for Max to get some points back. Josh Jacobs on a bye doesn't help whatsoever. Hawkinson on a bye, not great for Max, having to start Juwan Johnson. Boy, I want to pick Max so bad. It's his birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Max if you have not yet. I just can't find it to do it. I mean, Javonte versus Houston, I I don't see Javante keeping up with ETN. I mean, what's the injury here? Listed as questionable, expected to play. What time do they? Now they play at 8:15 tomorrow, so bit of a gamble having ETN. He could have a setback, but it seems like he's gonna play. Everything on paper says Grant, as it has for the past 5 weeks. So this is an objective program. I'll take Grant, like I did last week. But if Max were to pull this off, then week 14 is going to be such high stakes. High stakes insanity. We'll see. Thank you for joining me. Everybody, give it your best as we push to the end of this season and no more Thursday players in the flex. Come on, Banis. We'll see you next time.